Who was unlucky to miss out on the SAA squad for the tour against Zimbabwe? Let's look at it. Let's look at the stats. Let's try and think on of the selections and why certain players were selected. There's a lot of things that we can actually go into and discuss on the show based on this particular topic. It's something that we can really get into in the live chat, especially as well. I think a lot of you guys will enjoy the conversation this evening because we'll be going quite in depth on each individual players, trying to get an understanding of why they were selected and all of those type of things. But before we get started, before I get going with this particular episode, don't forget to smash the like button. Don't forget to subscribe to this channel. If that button is red, guys, then you know you need to still subscribe to this channel. You need to click that notification bell for all future videos as well. And don't forget to also subscribe to Cricket Fanatics Magazine Monthly. Every issue is 100% free, straight to your inbox every single month. The link is on the screen as well as in the description. We also have a Patreon account now, guys, so go and become a patron today. The link is on the screen as well as in the description. There are various different types of benefits that you will get, etc. And according to that, we will see what happens. So please click on the link on the screen as well as in the description for that. But without further ado, guys, let's get straight into today's content. I'm excited to hear what you guys have to say about the squad. But we're going to particularly talk about guys that have been left out of the squad. So let's get into it. A very good evening and welcome to Cricket Fanatics Magazine. This is your daily show. I'm your host, Khalid, and this is the show where we talk about all the major talking points in South African cricket. Now, as you know, we did a show yesterday with Vian Libber and Tristan Stubbs. Both of them came on the show to talk about their season with the Warriors, as well as their development in the game of cricket, as well as their call up to the SAA side. Now, yes, we discussed the SA side a little bit on the show, and we discussed the situation with them as players and whether they got contacted and spoken to by Victor, when they got the calls, etc. All of those type of things. You can check that out on the previous video on this channel. Go ahead and go watch that back. It's an excellent interview for you guys, or conversation more than an interview, for you guys to get some insight or some knowledge into those two players, as well as their mentality and the way they think, as well as how South Africa actually handled the selection process as well from the SAA point of view. So you can go watch that some other time, guys. But right now, we're going to be talking about the SAA squad again. But tonight, we're going to be talking about who is in the squad, of course. Again, if you guys missed yesterday's show, I did mention it. I did put the squad on the screen, but I will do it for you guys again so that you guys can have a look. Now, as you know, or you might not know, South Africa are going to be touring Zimbabwe, and the first one-dayer, it will start with 3 one-dayers, and then it will be 5 T20s. The first one-day happens on the 25th of April, and then there's 2 days between each one-day. And then the first T20 will start the 2nd of May. And then once again, there's 2 days between each day, except between the 3rd and 4th. And there's 1 day between the 4th and the 5th T20. So the T20 is a little bit different and then mixed up a little bit. But it's good to know that they will be getting a handful of games under their belts. The players that are going to be given opportunities are going to get some good game time under their belts. From what I've read and what I've seen, it seems to be that a lot of Zimbabwe's test players will most likely be taking part in this particular series. So we might see a lot of internationals play from a Zimbabwe perspective in this particular series. So that will be very, very good exposure and experience and time for them to show what they are capable of in national colors and how they can obviously put their name forward for both the 2023 World Cup and the next T20 World Cup. So this is obviously going to be a little bit of a audition, I would say. At least I would look at it from that perspective. for these players. Now let's have a look at the different teams. Let's start with the T20 squad, seeing that the World Cup is closer in the T20 arena than the 2023 World Cup. So first and foremost, we need to go and show you guys what the squad is looking like. Now we had two of the players from the squad on the show yesterday, as I said, Tristan Stubbs and Vian Libber. But the batters have been split between Heinrich Klaassen, Ryan Rickelton, Riza Hendricks, and Kayo Zondo. Now, I am presuming that Tristan Stubbs and Vian Libber will get a go in this particular lineup and get an opportunity to start as batters, as well as adding extra ability with the ball that obviously they can do too. But I think it would be smart to focus on these players playing in their positions that suit them. Now, I don't know if the Proteas are going to look at Vian as an opener or they're going to look at him as a finisher, and how they're going to play him is very interesting. We spoke to Vian yesterday. There wasn't necessarily a lot of conversations with him on where they want to play him. He was pretty chuffed just to play anywhere, he says, if he gets an opportunity to play to represent the country. So let's see what happens in the matches and how they line up, because that lineup will show us and show the world and show the fans that that is the next best players. Now, the fact that South Africa have gone and the selectors have decided to pick guys like Riza Hendricks, Ryan Rickelton, who already are in the Proteas setup, Andile Peklikwayo, another guy that is regularly being picked in the Proteas setup. You could call Bjorn Fontaine also a regular, in my opinion. Lutusi Pamla as well. Now, Lazard Williams recently, not in these formats, you would necessarily put his name to. Recently, he's obviously Test cricket has been the place where we've seen him in the national setup. And we know what he's capable of in the white ball arena. So Lazard is there, Darren's there, and Gerald. So we've got pace in that seam department. So I was very happy with this particular squad selected. But there were some guys missing. Some guys that some people might say, you know what, they should have been in the T20 side. Now, I'm going to put up the top performers of the CSA T20 Challenge, which I think would have held the most amount of weight when it comes to selection for this particular series, because the knockout competition was obviously against Division 2 teams as well. So I think this was probably the most competitive T20 competition. So who are they? Who are the guys that are dominating in the T20 arena in this competition? Now, a name jumps out to us, and it's a name that we would have liked to see maybe open the batting in the Test arena, and that is Peter Malan. Now, if you look at the amount of runs he scored compared to everybody else, it's crazy. 368 runs, 46 average, a strike rate of 118, however, and only five half centuries, no centuries, right? Nobody scored a century in this T20 challenge. Then you've got Tristan Stubbs. Tristan Stubbs in 7 games, almost a similar amount of runs to Peter Malan, an average of 48 and 3 half centuries. But the strike rate is very interesting, 183. Then you got Heinrich Klaassen, who's the captain. Vian Libber was added to the side. So Peter Malan is maybe the only guy in that top order that people could maybe look at and say, you know what, maybe he can feel hard done by. But the fact that Riza Hendricks has been selected in the squad tells me that obviously would there have been a point to pick Peter if he's not going to play? Because in my eyes, if you look at the squad currently, it looks like Riza Hendricks is going to be in that opening slot. And they maybe are looking at someone like maybe a Vian Libber to open the batting perhaps, or Ryan Rickelton to open the batting in T20 cricket. That is another option. So those are options that we can look at, and those could be possible options for the T20 arena. And that's maybe perhaps why they didn't pick Peter Malan, because they maybe are not looking at him as the next in line, which is unfortunate, because I thought they were going to be rewarding, obviously, if they're going to be rewarding domestic performances, which they have done, I feel, in this particular selection, then a guy like Peter Malan should be maybe looked at, because, I mean, he did play exceptionally well in this particular tournament. when it comes to the bowling department, maybe a Ziad Abrams, who I feel has really come into his own this season, and last season actually, he's been doing pretty well consistently. And I think another person maybe as a spinner, maybe Junaid Dawood. But knowing that Subrain has been in the setup for quite some time now, experience wise, he's been in and around. He's an off spinner as well. It adds extra value. But I thought that Junaid Dawood was a little bit unlucky to maybe not get selected. But I think the biggest upset for me maybe for the T20 arena um, was someone like um, sorry, that's not true. I'm actually lying there. That's I'm not talking about the T20 arena right now. I'm talking about the ODIs, which we get to next. Um, but Serena Mutasami was also discussed as someone that maybe missed out in the bowling department because he has been in and around as well. But what was interesting about the T20s is that we maybe have enough left arm spinners, and that's maybe why they went for the Subrain because they needed a off spinner. So, all in all, a pretty decent squad, I think, in the T20 arena. Now let's move on to the into the ODIs section, or the one day squad. Um, Someone that also in the T20s perhaps that you maybe will also talk about, and as well as in the one days, has been Sasanda Magala. And the only reason I can think of why he was omitted can only be fitness in my eyes, because it can't be performance, because the man was exceptional in both, and he also played well with the bat too. But let's put Sasanda now behind us, and let's think about this squad. So we're going to see Ryan Rickelton now also play white ball cricket, which is excellent for us as well. A lot of us have been calling him to do so too. But here is the brain. That's an interesting one. A guy that has been doing exceptionally well for his side, for the Titans in recent times, and he's putting up the numbers. So they've rewarded him with a selection. Tony De Zoos is in here too, guys. This is very important because we were looking for him to be selected maybe in the test arena. But we've got Tony De Zoos here in the white ball one day arena. We've got the same two spinners in Prinal and Sobrayan and Bjorn Fortuin. And I've already explained that maybe someone like Serena Mutasami might be left out, was a little bit unfair, but and George Linda as well. But we've got left armers that are there already. We've got Keshav, we've got Pure now, we've got Dylan Subrayan. So George is a little bit as well. I feel feel hard done by George too. I feel sad for George actually, because the man was playing for the Proteas, and a lot of us thought that he should have been in the T20 World Cup squad, and he wasn't, and it was really unfair. I feel from that perspective. Um, Then we've got Lutus Pamela Dan, the Pamela Lazard, Williams, and Jero Kutsia. They've kept the same seamers, which is a good thing. It shows who they're thinking, who's next in line, because I think that consistency is important. Because I think in the seamer department, we've got a lot more stability than we have in the batting department. Jason Smith was was an interesting one because he hasn't necessarily hit the ground running at the Dolphins necessarily, or he started off quite well, but he hasn't necessarily kept up that momentum and kept that consistency. So he was a little bit of an interesting one. But when I throw the One Day Cup um, top players from the One Day Cup up on the screen, and we look at someone that is there at the top, Heinrich Klaassen as captain, but Vian Mulder in two less games than Heinrich Klaassen had around 441 runs with 3 centuries at an average of 73. How he did not make the One Day Cup squad, I do not know. That was a big omission in my eyes, because I think Vian Lubber has done phenomenally well in the longer format, in the 50 over arena. And if you put up numbers like that, that's really disappointing that they haven't gotten up, that he hasn't gotten up, that hasn't been put in the squad for the one day stuff. Another person that might feel outdone by is maybe Neil Brandt, but the biggest one for me is Sibs Makanya. Sibs for me, I can't believe that Sibs, being the captain at the age that he is, we've got Werner joining us now, guys. Being a captain, and the performances that he's put on for his team, I think he was a little bit. I think he should feel outdone by it because I think he's been putting on the performances for a couple of seasons now that I think he deserves at least an SAA call up for opportunity. We keep complaining about we don't have enough black African players in the setup. That was your perfect opportunity to pick a black African player and give him a chance, especially an all rounder as well. Even though he's been batting a lot more than he's been bowling, actually barely bowled this season, but he does have that in his armor as well. But he's been focusing on his batting. Werner, let's just catch up with you. We've spoken about the T20s first and foremost. Who do you think maybe was unlucky to miss out on? Do you, is there someone that you maybe feel that was unlucky to miss out in the T20 read?
Yeah, definitely Susanna Magala, but I guess it's still fitness. It's the only reason that I can think of. Somebody like a Donovan Ferrara is another one that I feels like is close to getting a call to the SAA side. Probably needs another season or so, but he's definitely another one that is very destructive and that can be tried in that side. And then I actually think somebody that hasn't really been mentioned, Othniel Bartma, is somebody I would have in both limited
Mm,
overs sides, to be honest. He's been one of the better bowlers on the domestic scene in the white ball stuff. He has a good Yorker. He's very economical. Does pick up wickets. So I'm surprised not to see him there.
especially with him also being in the Proteas setup before and unluckily not getting opportunity. So like that is also shocking that like I don't understand why they would put people in squads if they're not looking at them for future selection for SAA. I mean, why then put them in the senior in the Proteas squads if you're not going to pick them in the SAA side? That was shocking to me, and
Yeah,
especially when we are
selections.
hunting, and especially when we are hunting players of color.
Yeah, no, the selections have baffled me over the last couple of years. To be honest, that I don't know the understanding why you would not have Jan Libbe in the 50 over format when that is where he dominated this season.
Yeah,
Why you will have Lesiba Ngwepe in the 50 over format where he didn't even average 10 in the one day cup. He did well in the T20 competition, and I understand having him there because he can strike it big from ball one, and I'm fine with having him in the T20 setup. But in the one day cup, he didn't perform at all. So if they keep saying that they're rewarding form, what are you rewarding then? If you're not rewarding Vian Leber, who was averaging 70, but you're playing Lesiba, who's averaging 9, it doesn't really add up when you have somebody like, if you're saying you want a black African batsman, you have Sibs Makanya
exactly.
averaging
Averaging,
60
yeah,
or whatever the case may be. In the one day cup, he was exceptional. I enjoyed the way he approached his game. He was attacking. His strike rate was always up around the 100 mark. He led well for the Titans. So why not have him there? I'd even have him in both squads. But if you only need him in one squad, then have him in the 50 over squad ahead of the Siva or somebody else even. So it's the selections have been very strange to me. I don't understand the reasoning behind some of it at the squad selections. In general, I'm pretty happy with it. It looks like quite strong squads, but there are these few question marks.
and even a guy like I just had his name now. It's just Michael Pretorius, who they put into as a next in line possible all rounder for South Africa and put him in, and then all of a sudden, poof, gone. Like no interest in him anymore. They were looking for certain players. Now it's like almost like the next flavor of the month. There's no consistency. It's just like pick the flavor of the month.
Yeah,
So like and
rumors are Michal Pretorius is at the Mumbai Indians, so
oh,
I'm not sure about the definite. I haven't seen like 100% credible sources yet, but rumors are he's been with the Mumbai Indians, almost doing. I don't know if it's a net bowler role like Duan Janssen is doing, but he is in and around the squad apparently. So that's probably the reason he wasn't considered for the squad, and something similar to for George Linder, who's playing county cricket. So I'm sure that's the reason why he wasn't considered either.
yeah. Yeah, that's the one. That's why I never really spoke too much about the likes of George Linder and those guys. So that are playing Vian Mulder as well, who's obviously in the mix. We would probably be in the mix as well, of course. But like yeah, we spoke about Subs. I think Subs Makanya for me was a standout one for me because I thought we were looking for like African players and for that are performing, and then when we do get ones that do perform, they don't get picked. And I'm like, what's the point of that? And like you gave a good example of Ngwepe. Like Lasiba's a good player and he played really well in the T20s, but in the ODI in the days maybe not as well. So where you have a black African batter that you can put in the one day squad, that can be there and get an opportunity. So I don't understand those type of things. I don't know what the logistics are about how many people you can actually have in the squad in total, because we could obviously see that there were a lot of players in both squads, and then a couple of that are not. But yeah, the Vian Lebo one was weird because he's in the one squad. Like I don't understand why you can't just put him in both. It
Yeah,
was a
and why
bit
would you
weird for
put
me.
him in the not in the one he was better at this
Better
season?
at, yeah.
So I mean, he was pretty good in the T20s as well. He scored a lot of runs, but his strike rate wasn't really up where you'd expect it. Usually, it was hovering around the 120s. Usually, he'd be the one striking at 150, 160. But it's obviously a different role opening. But he was very good in the 50 over competition. Even somebody else who could have maybe been picked ahead of Lasiba could have been fellow teammate Diego Rosier. He's finally had kind of like his breakthrough
Mm-hmm.
um,
Season,
competition this
almost,
year,
yeah.
season this year. He's been bouncing around from franchise to franchise or provincial sides, never really finding a place. But it seems like he's been given more responsibility now at the Warriors, and he's grabbed it with both hands. So even him, I would have been fine with. He's had a very good 50 over competition as well.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so let's get into some of the comments. Let's see what some of the guys have to say. That's our favorite part of the show, of course. So Raj saying Rosia, Batman, Lubba in ODIs, Makanya, Mpongwana, Ruanda Swat, Putgita, John O'Bird, Brzezinski, Junay Dawood, Ziad Abrams, Corbin Bosch, Michael Pretorius, Donovan Ferreira, Peter Milan. That's a whole squad on its own. So I don't know how many people you want to replace at once, but yes, there are names that we can be mentioning as players that are to look out for. We also need to look how they perform this season as well. There has been also some reward for good performances, and which I like. Like for example, um, but I also want to know if they if there's thought behind just because it's not again once again there's no consistency. We don't know if they're speaking for giving domestic performances an opportunity and saying well done for good domestic performances, or they are looking at it as okay, you were previously a Protea, so and you've done well this season. Okay, let me give you you get a pick over someone else, or they're actually looking at the pecking order and saying, we're going to pick according to a pecking order. We know who the two openers are and who the backup is for the two openers. We know who's number three and who's the backup for our number three. We know who's our number four, and etc., etc., etc. And then these are the next best in line as well. So these were supposed to be the next best in line, and then put the guys. That's why they said they were going to pick SA sides. So it seems like that's the case in certain areas, but in other areas, then it doesn't seem that way. So it's weird. Hardy, look at this, both the squads. Only 5 white players in each squad. So it's quite obvious why Ferreira, Michael Pretorius, Libba, one day misses out. I don't think that's the reason why they missed out necessarily. Actually, I don't even think that it's a player of color that's keeping them out. Even if this have a look quickly. Um, let's first start with your because Ferreira doesn't qualify for the one days, I would say. Only T20s, in my opinion. Um, when you look at maybe Jason Smith, I feel is maybe keeping one of the players out, perhaps, I think. Um, Jason hasn't necessarily had a season this season that I feel he really stepped up to the potential that we know he is capable of. We all know his potential. He showed flashes of it at the beginning of the season. We really thought Jason's arrived. He's really taking his opportunity at the Dolphins. But he's kind of fell away with regards to that. But I don't think the race reasons is the reasons for certain players not being selected because we've also mentioned some players of color that have been left out that could have been selected. So I don't think we can play this race card this time around, guys. And I don't think we should ever play the race card. But I don't think we should be talking about that as reasons why. I think we should be talking. We have the potential this time around. We actually have enough people to be talking about players on merit and picking enough players on merit, and it will balance out automatically with color this time around because there's been enough players of color, bowlers, batters, spinners, all rounders that have been performing in the two tournaments this season for us to be able to pick on merit. So there are some players of color that have missed out too, and not only white players. If you actually analyze it and look at it. Okay, so Kani says Sasanda doesn't have the temperament to play international cricket. We saw him against India and Pakistan bowling no balls and five wides. He gets nervous. It's too much of a risk to take him to the World Cup. What's your thoughts on this, Vian? Werner, sorry. Fuck, I'm thinking I'm still talking to Vian Liver yesterday.
I was never that good. So yes, Sisanda, I think he does. I think he needs one or two good games and he will be well away because he's too good to just be plugging away at domestic cricket because he dominates. Every tournament he plays in, he keeps being the leading wicket taker. He keeps rushing the batters. He keeps firing in those Yorkers that splays the wickets everywhere. So he is too good to just remain a domestic bowler. And he has shown glimpses at times, but yes, he has been a bit sporadic. Those no balls is something that he has to sort out, but it's even something that Kagiso Rabada needs to sort out as well. So it's not like singular to him. But I think he deserves more shots. I think he deserves more opportunities. And I'm not sure what the fitness regimen or what the requirements, because if he's passing the fitness requirements for the Lions and he's playing the whole season, he's playing the 4-day competition, he's bowling like 20 overs in an innings, running in full tilt, having no problems, but you're telling me he can't play for the SAA side because he can't run 2 miles in 8 minutes or whatever, 2 kilometers in 8 minutes, then really, I don't know.
I think there's something fishy there, Werner. I don't know. Because I think from what I heard, the fitness requirements domestically is the same as national fitness
Yeah, well,
requirements.
clearly not, right?
But I don't know. Maybe they are brushing
It
over
seems
certain
like
things
it's
or
a
getting
lot more
away with things. I
lenient
don't know.
than, I don't know,
Yeah.
but
So
he doesn't.
it's
I
weird.
mean, he's a big guy, right? So he's naturally both big, but he doesn't seem unfit to me. I mean, he's probably bigger than you'd normally look at in terms of a picture of a cricketer in mind. But he doesn't seem unfit. He's a great fielder. He has bucket hands. He catches everything that comes to him. He runs around. He dives. It's it's a shame. But if it really is just fitness, I hope he gets to a point where he is up to the standard that they want from him, so that he can represent his country. Because I'm sure he wants to.
Then we've got Justin Lodge saying Victor Mpusang has to be the worst selector ever for CSA. Why didn't Stubbs get picked? He did get picked in the T20s, where I feel that was a fair one. I didn't necessarily see him perform in the one day, so I think it's better. It's it was a good selection for the T20s. I mean, we've been calling for him. I think myself to be put into the squad because I think that he can be that replacement, for example, for David Miller down the line in that number 6 role. That's where I see him potentially in the future. So yeah, I was very interested to see that he was picked. I'm very happy that he got picked because I think he will perform if he just plays his natural game. Um, Diego Rosier is not black. I think he is. Okay, but okay. Khalid, I would like to know where the selectors' rationale behind consistently not selecting Michael Peter Malan, Linda. All are world beaters, but the selectors doesn't back them. Isn't Peter also playing in England currently?
I'm not sure. He was in England last year, but he didn't do too well. Where was he? I think it was at Warwickshire.
I
Not,
wonder.
not.
Actually, I didn't check
I'm not sure. I'm not sure if he's going again this year. I'm
because
not
that would
too
explain.
surprised. Yes, he was the leading run scorer by some distance and 550s and all that. But I think in T20s in general, you want somebody who's explosive at the top, or if you're not, if you are playing that sort of anchor role they talk about, then you need to do it at least a strike rate of 130, 135. You can't be anchoring at 118 as he did in the tournament. So nothing wrong with how he batted in the tournament because his team was struggling a lot of times. He had to dig them out of a hole and carry his bat throughout the innings. So I didn't have any problems with the way he batted. I think he did very well and did very well to lead his team to victory. But still, he's not the first person I'd look at if you're thinking a T20 opener necessarily, even though he did do a good job for the Paul Rocks.
Lorenzo saying Hamza definitely would have been in both squads. It's just an unfortunate situation. I wish him well. Not involved at all. Botman and Magala not getting selected is a joke, says John. It's pretty simple. If he has the hunger and desire to play international cricket, he will be more serious in cutting weight. But clearly, that's not the case for Magala. He's talking about, of course. Lisa Hendrick doesn't get selected for SA side or even in the SAA side. No, he is in the SAS side. Wait, he is in the SAS side. Michal Pretoria is good enough for Mumbai Indians and his CPL team, but apparently not for SAA. But I think if he wasn't there, maybe he would have been selected. We don't know now. See, all of these things cause problems because you don't know
he
where players
was
are.
he yeah. Remember, he was part of the side that took on India A in the 4 day
Yeah,
that mini 4 day series. So it's not like he's not part of the SAA plans.
yeah. So like it's weird because we don't know where our players are. The players are like all over the world, like playing their own, doing their own thing.
Yeah,
So,
it's very strange. Just the next moment we hear somebody is in the IPL, like somebody said Corbin Bosch is at
yeah,
Rajasthan
someone said Common Bush is
Royals,
there.
and I'm like, what? What's he doing there? Is he like also there as a net bowler? Is he like possibly going to be drafted in? Um, I mean, it feels like we're just going to get these strange sort of. We're gonna wake up and we hear Robin Peterson has come out of retirement and he's playing for the Chennai Super Kings, or something.
Yeah. Bavuma a few weeks ago says Magala only has himself to blame in terms of his fitness. Can't look like that playing international cricket. I'm sorry, guys. Unfair to others, guys who prioritize it, says Lawrence. And Jean says Oaks are going on as if Magala can lose the weight overnight, which is a fair point, actually, because for him to be able to lose that weight, he's going to have to take some time to lose it. It's going to take him time and then to do so. So, but yeah, I get both points. I get both aspects of it. Unfortunately, those fitness things are in place for people to adhere to it. That's the rules. But what's weird to me is that he's completing matches. He's bowling his spells. He's batting as well, hitting the ball quite far. He's training every single day. How does he make the Lions squad but not make the South African squad? It is a little bit weird and fishy. Anushpul saying Zayad Abrams and Junaid Dawood. Yes, I also mentioned two of them. I think maybe one more season for the both of them will start to put them in the contention and into the pool because they both showed a great amount of competitiveness, hard work. If you listen to Junaid Dawood's story and Ziyad Abrams' story too, they have two different, completely different stories from two different regions within Cape, well, in the Western Cape, you could say two different regions. One came down to the Western Cape. I think he's from PE actually originally, Ziad, but came down to the Western Cape and and performed well for the Cobras at the time, and then now as well for the Rocks, and then we've seen him do well and show a great amount of fight and spirit and accuracy with regards to his Yorkers, etc. That's performed pretty well as well. But Junaid Dawood's story as well is a completely different story. He comes from Rondebosch boys. He has a good story from that perspective. Coming through the ranks, Western Province, was tipped as a good youngster. One of those crops between him, Zubair Hamza and him, like they were at the same school. Obviously, the similar crops of players. Dayan Khalim as well. Those are he's like one of those players that came out of school that was really looked at. I heard his name from Graham October a long time ago already. I think in 2016 they were talking about Junaid Dawood already. So, like, he went missing for a while. Has a very interesting story. I'll try to get him on the show again if he's willing to reveal the story with me, and what has gone on in his life in the last 2 years. It's been quite hectic, guys. It's been quite interesting. He must obviously come say the story himself. Yes, I saw Corbin in RR camp. I don't know what they're using him for. Jeez, I love the comment section. It's crazy because Freilich made the national side. Stu had Rory Clayfelt as well at the time. Where Rory's at a club, maybe I say so.
He wouldn't have
Frisco,
made the side if Victor Tsang was the selector at the time. They
yeah.
didn't see eye to eye.
Frisco Adams, guys, probably the best domestic death toll in the country, guys. I can't smash the like button for Frisco Adams. I think because I think this man.
I love that guy. I think he's definitely somebody we could see
Yeah.
in the T20 setup going forward. He can smash a few balls as well. A very good all-round player.
Yeah, the Iceman, as he's been nicknamed. And also, guys, go to this channel. There's a exclusive interview in the exclusive interview section with me and Frisco. He gives his backstory. It was still when I was doing a sponsorship for Borland, and Borland's logos are on it, so you will see Borland's logos on it. Go ahead and go do that, guys. Listen to that story, to listen to his story and what he's gone through in his career. Excellent, excellent. So such a motivational video from his perspective because it's all about Borland. So yeah, excellent. Any reason why Fantunde isn't picked in the one day squad? I know his stats aren't great, but he clearly has a talent to do something special. But that's why I think it's because his numbers aren't great at the moment. I think we need Fantunde to find some form, and really put on the performance that we all know he's capable of. I think he's maybe jumbled in his mind on where he wants to make his debut first and what his approach should be. Also, different play as it was interesting because the conversation that we had yesterday with Stubbs and with Vian, particularly Vian, what he told us, where he spoke about players working you out, and that's why players don't have dips and they don't have consistency in seasons because you start to work a player out, knowing where to bowl to them, etc. And then there's certain things that the player needs to adjust to continuously be consistent, and that shows maturity and development. So the players that have performed consistently over the large period of time domestic cricket, they are very good cricketers because they constantly have to tweak themselves and create the different angles and find different ways to score and etc etc. So because they get worked out by the bowlers, of course. So yeah, I think that's what's happening to Reinhardt now. He needs to shift, maybe even move franchises, maybe go somewhere else, try a new environment, um, play maybe in the subcontinent, a little bit like subcontinent type of conditions I'm talking about, or and get that opportunity to play maybe in those conditions where it's going to spin a little bit more. Maybe he can go to like a Warriors or come down to VP. I mean, I'll welcome him with open arms, Reinhardt. So come down to VP, or something like that. Change of scenery, even maybe a Dolphins down the line, would be a good move for someone like him. I don't know why Pechlekwayo is in the SAA side. I mean, he's a national player. Some national contracted players have been given opportunities. I think it almost seems like these are the fringe players that are getting opportunities. Like, and I think Andile is becoming his form recently has put him on that brink of maybe possibly losing his spot with the amount of guys that are coming through the system, and the guys that have been given opportunities in the T20 arena, like Dwayne Pretorius, for example, seems to be our main all-rounder in the T20 arena currently because Adila didn't even see the World Cup, a World Cup game. So we can see what the thinking is behind it, and Adila needs to. They still believing in him, and I mean that is something that Andila needs to look at and cherish Because to get back for so long when you're not performing, it should mean a lot to you as a player and motivate you to want to perform even better. That's the best motivation for any player is backing. So for him personally, I think he should use this as a motivation and almost like an adrenaline rush for him to be able to perform at a higher level. And it starts with this tour, and then potentially maybe if he gets an opportunity for the Proteas again, he can convert those um, performances or repeat those performances because we saw him sporadically scoring in different formats this season. It's been weird. Andile's been a weird one to follow this season because domestically goes back, boom, nets with a bat. He's like, wow. Then you're like, what the hell? Then maybe you'll see him in a game perform with the ball, and then sometimes it's a poor performance, and then it's a good. So it's been very hot and cold with Andile. What's your stance on Andile, Werner?
Yeah, well, I'm glad to see him finally scoring some hundreds. So he's now scored 100 in the first class competition, the 4 day season. He ended off with 100, and he also made 100 against the Lions, I think, in the 1 day cup. So good to see him making some runs. He didn't take a lot of wickets, but we do know that he does have the knack to pick up wickets. So hopefully he can translate some of that batting form. If they play him, I hope he comes in at 5 or no later than 6. Let's see what he can bring with the bat. We need a lot more with the bat from Andile. If he wants to fill that all-rounder position. He can't bowl 7 overs and then come into bat and not really strike it. So hopefully he takes more responsibility with the bat now that he's had a decent-ish season domestically. It's good to see him scoring runs, getting that confidence up. So hopefully something good will come from that.
Yep. Lorenzo saying CSI taking the piss with Pretorius. He performed in both games, yet he got dropped. But I was happy to see average Jordan getting hammered. So hopefully Pretorius will be back. Quite a player Jordan there. I guess we can pick there over Pretorius. Yeah. That's a joke, guys.
It is a very strange one because the moment I saw that happen and I saw them drop Pretorius and play Jordan, or actually they played together and they brought in Chiksana from Sri Lanka, which is fine. I think he's a very good mystery type of spinner, almost a Mendes type of spinner. And it's good to have in your side. I questioned the fact that Jordan was playing ahead of Pretorius, who bowled very well in the 2 matches he played, because one of the matches in particular they played at the Brabant Stadium where teams have been smashing 200, and he bowled like 4 overs, 2 for 30. He was going at less than 8 and over while everybody else was going at like 11 or 12s. So it's a strange one, and he's also proven to be very good at the death. He's taken, and I think he's learning so much by just being around Dwayne Bravo as well. We know we talked about it in the past, so just being there with him, I think he's learning so much. So I find it very strange. So I wouldn't be surprised if he's back in tomorrow ahead of Chris Jordan. Maybe even bowls to Dewald Brevis. Who knows?
And you know what's also crazy is that the fact that he started bowling in the death in the World Cup. So it's like, what is the most precious situation you ever can face in a situation? And he came out on top. So that shows his mentality, and he's a great personality, man. Dwayne Pretorius is just an excellent player. Anyway, guys, thanks a lot for tuning in. Thanks for coming on and joining me and keeping me company. I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. Subscribe, click that notification bell for all future videos. Also, smash that like button. And do all of those things, guys. Comment and share this with all your friends and family. Also, you can download the latest issue of Cricket Fanatics magazine monthly. Every issue is 100% free, straight to your inbox every single month. Link is on the screen as well as in the description. And help us, guys, because we are 100% bootstrapped. So join us and become a patron today. The link is on the screen as well in the description. There's different tiers that you can follow there. Also, go to cricketfanaticsmag.com for all updates. That's where we do some reports, we do some news updates, some features. There's some interesting features posted on a regular basis. Go ahead and look, guys. That's where you'll find all your updates on a regular basis from a daily basis, guys. Day-to-day basis, daily. All over the show.
Get your daily doses here.
Yeah, get your daily doses. Thanks a lot for watching, everybody. I hope you guys enjoyed this episode, and we'll see you again tomorrow with another daily show. Take care. Peace.